From Arkansas's breaking news leader, Fox 16 News at 9 starts now.
I wish that I could tell him, I says, why did you do it? Look how many people he ruined.
Communities in Texas, Ohio, and across the U.S. mourning the tragic deaths of lives lost over the weekend. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Kelly.
I'm Donna Terrell. Officials are still piecing together what caused two gunmen hundreds of miles apart to go on separate shooting rampages. 22 people were killed Saturday when a gunman opened fire at a Walmart in El Paso. More than 24 others were injured. The suspect, identified as 21-year-old Patrick Crucius.
Authorities say they found a document believed to be written by Crucius containing white nationalist and racist views. Authorities confirm he may face hate crime charges in addition to capital murder charges. He's currently being held without bond. The suspect's family releasing a public statement today saying Crucius's actions were influenced by people they didn't know and by beliefs that, quote, we do not accept or condone in any way. The statement goes on to say, quote, there will never be a moment for the rest of our lives when we will forget each and every victim of this senseless tragedy. Meanwhile, President Trump, along with the First Lady, are scheduled to visit both El Paso and Ohio tomorrow. This despite critics voicing concerns that his rhetoric may have contributed to growing hostilities toward immigrants and hate crimes.
And in response to both national and local challenges, the governor of Arkansas is pushing to pass legislation condemning hate crimes. The new rules would enhance the penalty for crimes targeted at people for their race, religion, or ethnicity. Clarissa Bustamante walks us through what's being proposed.
White nationalism has absolutely no place in the natural state and absolutely no place in America.
After one of the mass shootings over the weekend was found to be linked to white supremacy, Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge is calling Arkansans to action.
Anyone who feels unsafe, whether African Americans, Latinos, any Arkansans, any Americans, if you feel unsafe, let us in law enforcement know. We want to work with you. If you see something, say something.
At the Arkansas Sheriff's Association Summer Conference, Governor Asa Hutchinson announced he's also taking action.
People should not be targeted for who they are.
He's pushing to enhance the penalty for crimes targeted at people for their race, religion, ethnicity, or sexual orientation.
Arkansas needs to pass this legislation to send the strongest signal possible that we're not going to tolerate that type of hate.
Aside from hate crimes legislation, Hutchinson acknowledges the fact that some lawmakers are pushing for red flag laws.
It still remains a challenge to be able to have the type of legislation that protects due process rights, constitutional rights, but at the same time is able to take a firearm away from somebody that clearly poses a great risk to themselves or have threatened others.
The governor says he has yet to see a law he can sign on to, but will work to find a consensus. He also mentions one of 3 mass shooters have some sort of mental health issue, emphasizing the importance of the state's crisis stabilization centers.
Our county jails are backed up. Our criminal justice system is crowded. The crisis stabilization unit allows a law enforcement officer to divert someone with a serious mental challenge over to a stabilization unit to get the mental health services they need.
He says there's no better time than now to make the natural state a safer place.
With the level of challenge that we see with acts of hate, with violent acts of hate in our society, it's time that we did this.
And the governor says the majority of states have this type of legislation. In fact, we are one of 4 states that currently does not have a hate crime law in place.
Now, weather to plan your day with Fox 16 Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin.
Well, if you think that just because most of the kids are going back to school next week, that summer is almost over, think again, because the hottest temperatures of the entire season are likely still ahead of us. Actually, today, 96 in Little Rock, that ties for the hottest day that we've had all season long, all summer long. And so we could even be looking at temperatures a degree or 2 hotter tomorrow in some spots than it was today. And next week, we could be looking at temperatures back into the mid to upper 90s, 98, the high temperature today in Hot Springs. So getting pretty close to the 100-degree mark in some spots. Temperatures this evening still pretty warm and humid. When you factor in the humidity, it still feels like mid to upper 80s, and even still feels like 90s in some spots. 94 current heat index around Hot Springs. 93 is what it feels like around Searcy, even at 9 o'clock at night. Radar and satellite showing mainly dry conditions across central Arkansas. Most of the showers have died off, but a few isolated showers and thunderstorms have worked their way southward out of Missouri. We have one thunderstorm now that's just to the southeast of Mountain View. That is moving towards the south, and that's going to move towards the Greers Ferry area if it holds together. But these showers are starting to weaken. Also some thunderstorms now moving through the Paragould area over towards Jonesboro. There was a severe thunderstorm warning with that cell, but that has been allowed to expire as that thunderstorm is weakening. So as we take a look at the wider satellite, you can see that area of showers and thunderstorms loosely associated with a weak front to our north. Those showers die off overnight. Tomorrow, once again, a few isolated showers and thunderstorms, especially across parts of north central Arkansas with that weak front in the vicinity, and then rain chances go up a little bit more as we go towards later in the week. But tomorrow, even with a couple of those afternoon showers, high temperatures back into the mid-90s, and with the humidity feeling like over 105 in some spots, with a heat advisory in effect for much of south and southwest Arkansas. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll talk about when you can expect higher rain chances and how hot it's going to get coming up in your 7-day forecast.
We are learning more about the victims in the mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio, along with the gunman. Officials are now saying they've uncovered evidence 24-year-old Connor Betts had an obsession with violence. 9 people were killed when Betts opened fire Sunday morning in an area surrounded with bars and restaurants. Authorities say some 41 shots were fired in just 30 seconds.
He just was an angry person who acted on his actions, and the warning signs were missed.
As vigils continue for the lives lost, authorities have not yet discovered what motivated Sunday's massacre.
A Fox 16 News update now. A federal judge rules 3 Arkansas abortion restrictions she blocked will remain on hold while she considers a lawsuit challenging them. Late this afternoon, U.S. District Judge Christine Baker granted an injunction blocking the restrictions, which includes a measure banning abortions 18 weeks into pregnancy. A ruling blocking the law was set to expire tonight. The Attorney General's office says it plans to appeal the federal judge's decision.
A Maumelle police officer under investigation this evening, according to the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, over usage of public property. City Attorney Melissa Krebs confirms she has asked an outside agency to investigate a police captain who's been accused of allowing friends to use police property. The Pulaski County Sheriff's Office telling Fox 16 it plans to hand over a case file to the prosecutor tomorrow. The accusations, if true, could result in a misdemeanor charge. The Maumelle Police Department tells us it has no comment.
A carjacking in Lonoke appears to have happened in 2 stages, the setup and then the follow-through. This morning, a family woke up to surveillance video of a man taking their work truck. Fox 16's Rebecca Jeffrey tells us what they believe happened and what you should probably be looking out for. Rebecca.
Yeah, Donna. Well, what's particularly strange about this case is you can see in the surveillance video the man unlocking the truck door from a key fob. So despite locked doors, surveillance cameras, and living in a traditionally safe neighborhood, this family is trying to figure out what else they need to do to be protected.
My wife woke me up at 4:50 saying, "Your truck's stolen, your truck's stolen." That's some way to wake up.
And some way to find out Corey Miller's livelihood is put on hold.
I ran out here, looked out both ways. I jumped in one of the cars and rode around town.
His white F-250 wouldn't be too hard to spot either, with the words Miller Fish Incorporated, Lonoke, Arkansas, written down the side window.
We go pretty much all across the United States hauling fish, stocking ponds.
A family business requiring some specialty equipment that his truck could handle, so he keeps a close eye on it, especially since a year ago he had another truck stolen. It was locked.
So I bought the security system. I bought 2 new guns. I don't know what else to do besides just sit out here and wait on him to come.
About a week ago, Miller says he ran off another guy sneaking around his truck after midnight, and he fears after a long day on the road, that may have been when he left his keys in the truck.
I want to say that they stole my keys in.
It's not until now, days after the keys went missing, you can see this person unlock Miller's truck, get in, and drive off.
Brave, real brave.
And a real mess Miller can't believe he's going through again. Along with Miller's truck getting stolen last year, his brother's was stolen just 3 weeks ago. It was found in a ditch. They do live in the same neighborhood. Police reports have been filed and hope this time the people responsible are caught.
Yeah, I was kind of scratching my head there, like how was he able to just start the car so quickly?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
If he had the fob from the first incident, that would explain it. Obviously, they had the surveillance video. Was there any other evidence that might help them crack this case, or at least the authorities crack it?
Right, certainly. And yes, fortunately, they were actually able to make out another car that had apparently dropped off the man who then stole the truck. And it is a very distinct car. They believe it's a red Porsche sports car. Oh. So if you're seeing a red Porsche, yeah, this is
we see a lot of them.
This is not the average Camry.
Right.
So that is one of those ways that police may be able to close this case a little faster and find who's responsible.
I'm wondering, what is it about this truck that people want? He had to chase some guy off before, and now this guy. It's just, what is it about this truck?
I don't know. It has some specialty features to it that they use for hauling fish.
Okay. Maybe that's it.
Maybe, but otherwise, it's a nice truck that he does a lot of work around the country in, and needs it.
He needs it.
And needs it back.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. A judge in Faulkner County is working to reduce jail overcrowding by bringing a new meaning to throwing the book at them. It's a partnership between district courts and adult education facilities in hopes of getting people out of jail cells and keeping them out. It offers less time behind bars for certain criminals who agree to participate in educational courses in Conway or Clinton. Jail sentences will be partially or fully suspended as long as their studies are completed.
This is a way to help kind of lower those numbers, but focus on a positive result so that while it's a bad situation they're in, it's something that we can successfully transition them to.
The program is partnered with University of Arkansas Community College at Morrilton Adult Education Center. So far, 6 people have been sentenced to this.
Well, right now the votes are still being counted in a special primary election for State House District 36. At last check, Denise Emmett has 37% of the vote, and Darrell Stevens is close behind with roughly 34% of the vote. This is with 3 out of 16 precincts reporting. Of course, we'll continue to keep you updated.
If you had losses or damages in the flood that happened from May 21st through June 14th, the registration deadline for federal assistance, you need to listen up because it is tomorrow. That is the deadline. The Arkansas counties designated for federal individual assistance are highlighted right there on the screen. Registration with FEMA is really easy, and there are many ways to do it. You can find all of the links you need right at this very moment at Fox16.com.
Coming up, a possible break in the murder investigation of an American woman and her Australian boyfriend in Canada. What clues officials stumbled across 10 days after the murders. Plus this.
Mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger, not the gun.
As investigators work the mass shootings, the 2 of them from this weekend, the head of state pointing the finger at mental illness. How lawmakers are responding to his comments.
You're watching Fox 16 News at 9 with Donna Terrell, Kevin Kelly, sports with Wes Moore, and Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin. This is Fox 16 News at 9.